What's up, Internet? My name's Wade.
I'm Ember.
And this is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Season 1, Episode 13 and 14?
Probably. I feel like unless you saw Elemental and then you also saw our tweets about it, like that is a very obscure joke.
Yes, but it's also a good time to say that Disney Pixar's Elemental is currently in theaters, and they did not pay me to say this. This is not an ad. I just think that it was great, and we didn't do a review on it because we watched it like a week and a half late, but we saw it, and it's great.
Yeah.
And honestly, the marketing for it's terrible. If you want a good time at the movies, go see it. I feel like I want to advocate. I don't usually want to advocate for a Disney movie. I'm like, they'll make their money. I'm not worried about it. Mm-hmm. This one, I'm like, nah, this shit was so much better than that box office. And this deserves to be seen. Anyway, that's a totally other aside. We're here to talk about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood because we just met Teacher. And I feel like it was a really good episode.
Uh-huh.
In the reaction.
Yeah.
I didn't love the episode before it. But I really like the Teacher episode. And then coming into this episode, in the time between we watched that and this, I've been thinking about that episode a lot.
Yeah.
And I found like the character of Teacher and the way in which her story connects to the boys is so fascinating to me in hindsight, because she didn't know that they ended up doing the same thing that she did, but they also did not know that she had done the same thing. And there's this weird element of it that is like these kind of similar souls met in the wake of their trauma. And they're the kinds of people who go down a similar path, and they find each other in this like position of trauma. And yeah, I've been thinking about that episode a lot since we watched it, and it really stuck with me in a way that I didn't expect at the time. I was like, yeah, this is emotional, and yeah, it's a moving scene. Yeah. But yeah, in the last week, I've been thinking a lot about Teacher and what she went through, and how she ended up with the Elric brothers, and how their journey with her in their trauma is indicative of like the kinds of people that attract each other. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is definitely one of those like sneaky ones where like in the moment you're like, oh yes, like this is like, you know, heavier stuff, really interesting, but there's a lot to kind of dig into and unpack, which I think like happens frequently in this show. So I'm excited to get into that with you.
I'm excited to keep going. I really like that episode, especially more and more the more I thought about it. So I want to keep going and see what happens next with the boys and Teacher. If you want that full-length reaction, go to patreon.com/nerdynightly. But if you don't, stay here because you're already here. And that was a long intro to get us to this.
To think you saw it and managed to survive. I can't accept the decision you made. You're expelled.
But Teacher...
Ow.
Wow, this is a kick opening scene.
The trains are still running. Get on one.
Thank you for everything.
All right, listen here, lady. Listen here. At the age of 11, they did the same thing that your grown ass did, okay? I don't want to hear judgment for their actions when you did the same thing as a fucking adult that they did after 2 years in your care. You were kind of the last adult in their life. Maybe, you let I was just hyping this woman up and now I'm ready to throw hands.
Just wait, don't wait.
I get it. Her trauma, she doesn't want to be around someone who did the same thing she did for like traumatic reasons. I totally understand all of that. I do. But like, come on, they're still kids. Yeah. People treat the Elric brothers like they're like 26.
Yeah, no, they're 15 and 16, I think. So.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. They've been through enough.
Oh, they've been through so much. But for her to be like, I can't respect your decision. You can't respect yourself then. How do you look in the mirror?
She probably doesn't.
I know. But take care of those. Somebody needs to take care of those kids.
I know. They're good at it themselves, but they shouldn't have to
They're
be,
really not.
I mean, they're alive.
They are barely surviving. Multiple people want them dead.
Yeah, and they're still alive. That's impressive.
I'm not really concerned for their physical well-being so much as I'm concerned for their emotional well-being.
Fair. You know what? That's fair.
Now you're finally free to speak to Izumi as equals. Unless, of course, you're too chicken to try it.
Damn! Thank you. We're heading back there right now.
Don't let her kill you.
He's my favorite,
Sure,
honestly.
I guess that's what that means.
It is what it means.
Teacher!
We came to you because we're trying to find a way to get our bodies back.
And we won't leave without your help. Get out now! We're staying!
You idiots.
Well, that was fucking easy. Jesus Christ.
What, is it something bad?
No, it's more like awful.
That doesn't matter. If there's a chance that it can help us, then I want to do it.
Poor Al. It's like,
Let's eat dinner first. Give me a hand.
Okay.
This show's gonna give me fucking whiplash.
He's able to transmute human souls.
What the fuck?
sorry, what did you say? Whiplash?
Are there animal people in the show too?
I mean, you saw Nina.
Yeah, I guess evil would do that. Okay, that makes sense.
Checkmate.
You can consider that my going away gift.
I've got a problem, sir. See, I just started dating this girl and I really like her.
Dump her.
That's rough, buddy. Oh, hey, he's alive. I mean, I knew he was going to be, but...
Well, we saw him in the healing tent.
That's right. He's with the other Ishvalans.
Yeah.
The state alchemist is responsible for the burning of our village and the death of our loved ones.
Mustang.
He's got the scar and everything. Looks like you got yourself a deal. We'll split the bounty 3 ways with you.
I would not attack that man.
I'll rise up. I will rise. And I'll use my power to annihilate Edward Elric.
Is that the guy from Mulan?
I have no idea what's going on.
Thanks for making this easy, pal.
How the fuck did he do that?
How did he do that?
Still, it's too late to turn back now.
Huh. So, he can just snap a guy's arm off when the guy isn't even touching him?
He deconstructs. Right?
I just figured it had to be it. Maybe he did actually make contact. It just kind of looked like the guy was just like, yeah.
No, sorry, yeah, the guy like touched him, and so it like, yeah.
I thought his arm had to be the thing to touch. I didn't realize if you touched his back, covered in clothes.
I think it touched his. He went to grab his arm.
And we know a lot about you.
Well, that's good, because there's a lot about me that I don't know. You think so? I should think for myself?
Yes, and you can start by coming with...
And I decided that I should just make you tell me what I want to know.
All right, Al.
I love him so much.
Sorry to drop in.
Oh, you're inside?
This is weirdly kinky.
All I'm trying to do is slow you down a little.
For my turn.
Shit. I'm amazed her shoulders got through that hole.
Yeah, that would be rough.
I've seen this guy before.
Yes, you have.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Bro, abi the Marta Dolcetto.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Greed! Oh fuck, it's a sin!
I guess that's like kind of a spoiler, but he's got the... Yeah,
what do you mean? He's got the red thing on his hand.
Yeah.
And his name's Greed. What, did you think I wasn't gonna figure that one out?
No, I just mean that like, it like showed before he like said it himself.
Oh, okay.
Then he said it like 5 seconds later.
Hell, I'm more uncommon than they are. I'm a homunculus.
Oh, we're just revealing all of our secrets, okay.
Homunculus?
It's a person made from alchemy.
Oh, so they're not like the embodiment of sins. They're just people that were created. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow, the animation design choice for that was really cool.
Right?
I love the almost like puzzling kind of build.
You get it yet? Nothing is impossible, all right? I'm a little surprised you would have such a hard time accepting that, considering you're just a soul in a suit of armor.
That's so fair.
World, and I've got plenty of friends.
When did the lighting in this room change?
Where did that shadow come from?
And where would a 7-foot-tall suit of armor run off to?
I'd be happy to tell you where you could find it.
Al literally went off on his own? What happened?
His secret is.
That was a good cut.
Never really crossed my mind that you could get kidnapped.
It's a very funny joke.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but we don't talk much anymore.
Ooh. Someone's mad at Daddy.
In return, all I ask is you teach me how to transmute a soul. Classic equivalent exchange.
Yeah, that seems fair.
You don't need to eat, you don't need to sleep, you don't even need to use the toilet. Sounds great to me.
Can't have chocolate, can't have sex.
It's pretty brutal.
I'm gonna crush you, creeps! I'll smash you and you! And I won't give you slime anything!
Alright, well I guess we just won't learn the thing that we've been after for our whole lives. I like Greed a lot.
Hey, hold on! Drop him!
What happened to his hands?
Nope, sorry.
Huh.
But it can't even scratch my ultimate shield.
This is such an anime line.
I love when anime people are like saying that. Let's go!
That move would have hospitalized most people. This obscures my handsome face, so I try not to wear it that much. Kidding, kid. Try all you like, but you're not gonna
shit. Ed, just take the deal.
A friend of mine noticed a short blonde-haired kid heading into a bar called the Devil's Nest.
Who the fuck are you? A friend of mine noticed these short... Are you guys looking for a short blonde kid?
Hey, at least they gave an explanation.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
There you go. You're chock full of piss and vinegar.
Oh man, Winry's gonna be pissed.
Stay down! What? Well, that was bizarre.
I really like how this fight has shown Greed taking material from the environment to keep creating his shield.
You shouldn't have told me that your body is human, considering that means a third of it is made of carbon. Once I got that figured out, the rest is simple alchemy.
I'm glad to hear it!
You can't harden your shield and heal at the same time!
I think that it's safe to say that I underestimated you.
Cool. God, I love when Brains wins fights. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Funny not to put the broom away? I asked you a question!
No! I'm so sorry!
She is the worst case of tunnel vision I've ever seen in my life.
Teacher, careful! He's a...
Yes, I know. I could hear the two of you all the way down the hall.
Lady, it's no fun fighting a woman.
Ah, man, I liked Greed until that one.
Just what the hell are you?
But does that really surprise you?
Yeah, I figured he'd be a better flirt.
A housewife!
A housewife!
Fuck, that was great.
That was fun.
Right?
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved Greed's design, like the armor with the, like, Like with the red. Like I don't know. It's such a vibe. I love it.
I don't really understand why Greed is straight. I don't think that anyone named Greed could be anything less than fully pansexual.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I need to have everything everywhere all at once.
The best of all of it, right?
Yeah.
God damn. I know. No, that was a really fun episode. I feel like that was a much stronger blend of the comedy and the stuff that I like about the show in a way that I really enjoyed that. I think also like the episode really made really strong use of like the characters and their desires for the comedy in this episode.
And we found out so much.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it finally kind of started the show down a path where it's like a narrative as opposed to just being like, and in this episode they go do this thing, and in this episode they go do this thing.
Yeah, because they were condensing like, I don't even know, 30, like the, yeah, it was very rushed.
Yeah. I kind of felt like I was in a pinball machine before.
Yeah,
and this kind of felt like the episode where they were like one of the bad guys. Well, bad guys. Maybe Greed could be a good guy. But it's possible, right? Because Greed, he's literally like, I don't think ultimately he'll be a good guy, but him being like, I don't talk to them means that he could be like an anti-hero, or there might be something interesting there, right?
Sure, yeah. There's room for different possibilities.
Yeah. But we get so much information that I find really strange given the earlier episodes, but that like totally reframes the whole show for me.
Okay.
Like understanding that I thought that lust was like a demigod.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's like lust, the sin, like the mortal sin of lust made manifest on Earth.
Right.
Is very different than someone alchemically created a body for lust to live in.
Yes.
This also makes me think that Führer might not be a sin. Because I was so sure that he was a sin.
Bradley.
Yes.
Interesting.
I still think Bradley is evil as fuck. But somebody has to be creating these sins if they're homunculi that... But then how is Bradley 200 years old? I have a lot of questions, right?
Sure.
But,
I mean, they don't all have to be 200 years old either. I don't remember how old everybody is.
No, but I'm saying that if Bradley created all of them, because she
if Bradley
specifically
created
Lust
them.
says, I'm going to call Daddy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm assuming the Führer is Daddy.
Right.
Or it's a character we haven't met yet, which I think is weird. I think it makes more sense to have introduced him already. I think that Bradley being Daddy means that he's at least 200 years old.
Okay.
And how has he lived that long? Because Greed seems to be under the impression that homunculi can, but regular people can't. So is Bradley also a homunculi? Or is Bradley an actual demigod? I don't know. Anyway, I thought that we were dealing with demigods in a world of magic, and we're not. We're dealing with people that were created by magic, by the same magic that runs this world.
Yes.
And that just completely reframes the entire show for me. It brings up a lot of other questions.
Sure.
But
it brings a little bit of clarity. Like it shifts things into focus in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
This episode, I kind of now at the end of this, I'm like, oh, I kind of finally understand what show I'm watching. Whereas before I was like, I don't really know what is at stake in any of these scenes.
Right.
Like I understand why Scar is upset with the Alchemist, but that seems like it lives in a different show from the main characters.
Yeah, I mean...
And it like crosses over, but like if you told me that we were going to watch Scar on his own show from now on and he never showed up again in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and instead there was like Full Metal Alchemist Scar's Path was a separate show, I'd be like, yeah, sure, that totally makes sense to me, right? It doesn't seem like he's tied in enough to our main characters, other than the fact that I think Mustang burned his village. And so I think that this episode changed that, right? This episode was like, no, we're going... This ties into this ties into this, ties into this. I'm assuming like 200 years ago, somebody had a Philosopher's Stone. They created the homunculi. The reason that the Philosopher's Stone was created was lost. And so like the ability to create more homunculi was kind of lost. And so whoever created the homunculi is trying to get that knowledge back or something, get that power back. And so the homunculi are their soldiers in that. And so the Ishvalan War was the latest attempt down that path to get back to whatever power they had 200 years ago that they seem to have lost.
Okay.
Because they're clearly not in power publicly. I think they are, because I think Führer is one of them.
Okay, yeah.
But they clearly have to operate from the shadows because it is not safe for them to just run the country, right? And so how either why has it taken them 200 years from being created to get to the point where they're doing this, or what happened 200 years ago that caused the schism in them and the loss of knowledge that they're trying to get back so that they can get back to something that they previously had, right? And I feel like one of those two things has to be answered, and I'm really curious to see what it is.
I don't remember like how old everybody is, so I'm not sure if all of the homunculi are around 200 years old. But I'm just throwing that out there. That's not something I remember. That's not something that I know. So like, I'm just letting them know what I don't.
Because you have seen the show before. We need to start saying the beginning of all of these episodes.
Yeah, sorry. I just assumed that people go back to watch the first one first.
Yeah.
But yes, I have seen this show before a while back, and I really remember like maybe 10% of it.
But the 200 years isn't the most important part. The important part for me is like these characters have been around long enough and have enough power that if they wanted to be in control, they would be. So why are they in secret? Right? There has to be like an important reason why these characters are acting from the shadows. Because if they're functionally immortal and the Fuhrer is running the government, what is keeping them from just being out and about? And maybe I have just bought into this idea that the Fuhrer is evil and he actually isn't. I don't think that that is true.
Okay.
I do believe he's evil. I think that his tattoo is going to be under his eye patch. But because I think that that's going to be looking at his design, the idea that the Aurora Boreas is going to be under his eye patch, or that he lifts his eye up. Oh, wait, but he might not be a homunculi. His eye might be a Philosopher's Stone.
Oh, okay.
Like he's going to lift up his eye patch and it's just going to be red. If I was hiding a secret on my eye patch, I might have a more secure eye patch than he does. I might do the like one with the lower strap, but that's not important.
For sure.
This episode did so many things in terms of framing this world into, and it's a thing that I sometimes struggle with anime, is I want to know what the rules of the world are. And it was one thing that I never felt really, I always felt on shaky ground with Attack on Titan with, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know what the rules of this world are.
Yeah.
Because the rules are a mystery and that was frustrating me.
Yes.
This episode was like, here are some of the rules of this world and how things work.
Yeah.
On like a deep fundamental level in regards to our bad guys.
Yeah.
And that was, it really opened. I feel like I'm like drinking a nice wine. And I was like, it's all right. And then the moment a wine opens up in a glass, you know, right? It's a completely different bouquet. It's a completely different experience.
I am not a wine drinker, so I'm just going to smile and nod.
I worked in a wine bar for years. So
no, you know what you're talking about. I'm like,
this is just a personal experience of mine. But when a wine opens up and you can actually really enjoy it, is a different experience. And this just, to me, getting a couple of things that I can like plant my flag in terms of how this world works.
Yes.
Scar's connection to his like people, all of these different things that happen in this episode. I'm really...
Yeah. It's like I
like this a lot.
The pins are being put in the pin board so you can start to draw strings.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of mysteries, right? But like some of the grounding rods are put in place. And I think that that's really important for a show to do.
For sure.
And I honestly believe Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood was missing that in the first 10 episodes.
Yeah, because it assumed that you had already seen the first one, which I think is a real shortcoming for Brotherhood.
Well, and it goes all the way back to episode 1 when the guy's like, you guys need a place to stay, right? And I was like, do they? I don't know anything about what's going on with these characters.
Yeah.
And then they stay with him one night and where they have to stay is never brought up again in the show. And I was like, why did the pilot make such a big deal out of them not having a home if it doesn't really matter?
Yeah.
Like, and so there's a few things in the first 10 episodes that I was like, you're leaving me as the viewer a little shaky here.
Yeah. And it is interesting, like, your first experience will be Brotherhood, which not a lot of people's is or will be. And so having that. Well,
because Fullmetal Alchemist,
when it came out.
No, yes, I agree with that. No, I think in retrospect, yes.
Right.
I think that if you go back in time, most people probably saw the first one first or read the manga first.
That's what I mean.
Moving forward from here, the first one is hard to find.
Yeah, it is really hard to find. I wanted to watch it because I knew there were things about the first one that I really, really liked. And watching this one again has really put that in perspective for me because the beginning is very rushed. And yes, I already kind of know how the world works, but you don't. And you're kind of like, I don't like this. This is kind of all over the place. And I totally agree. I know a lot of people very much prefer Brotherhood, but there are definitely things that the original does better. For sure.
Well, and it's interesting because people talk about Hughes, and they're like, no, Hughes is so important in the original, and you spend time with him.
Yeah.
And then in this version...
He's a great character.
Sure.
They did him real dirty.
But in Brotherhood, he doesn't do a single thing.
No, he's just researches
present.
The thing. He's only like...
I don't even know what he's researching, though. He like literally circles locations on a map.
Yeah,
like,
and we're like, what is that supposed to mean?
And he calls Mustang and like makes... And like he's like, my wife, and then I'm like, well, I don't care about this guy. He's not doing anything. And people are like, oh no, he's like a spy. And I'm like, is he?
Yeah,
we don't see that in this version.
That whole thing is like a total front, and he's such a more interesting and complicated character in the original one. Like they really like nerfed his character to just move past all of that, and I think it is really tragic because I did really enjoy him in the original.
And that's fair. And like I think that I already feel really since like the Slicer episode, I feel like is the first one where I was like, oh, I think I really like this show.
Yeah.
And then it was the scene with Ed and Al when he's like, I can't wait to taste things, where they're sitting in the rain before a scar attacks them. That was a really good scene. And I really like that. But then the Slicer episode was great. The teacher episode was really great.
Yeah.
And then this episode was like a continuation of the teacher episode towards a show that I really like.
Yeah.
A version of the show where like the relationships in the show are really strong. I thought the beginning of this episode was a little bit goofy. With the like, the teacher's a little heavy-handed on the like, why? And you're like, okay, sure, you did the same thing, and they know you did the same thing.
Teacher is a very interesting character who is incredible in some ways and extremely, like you said, tunnel vision for sure. Hypocritical, like definitely, like she in a lot of ways feels like an anime embodiment of a lot of human characteristics.
They're just
like aggressive.
I would have liked the scene where they go back more. If Ed opens the door and goes, teacher, she throws the knife, fine, whatever. Murder. And she's like, how dare you call me teacher? Not how dare you come back here? Because even her husband is like, she's expecting you to go back, but she's not your teacher anymore.
Yeah.
And I wish in that scene, Ed had called her by her name and that had been the moment where she stopped. But because they get down on their knees and they're like, teacher, I'm like, the dude just told you what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you're not paying attention. Like, it made it seem like they weren't paying attention to what he was saying. And I just wish if that scene had played out differently, where they had come back and been like, you did this. We are not your students anymore. But then weirdly, like she's mad because they're sweeping for her. So clearly she is still having this student-teacher relationship with them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if the scene coming back had been a little bit stronger, I wouldn't have minded the bait and switch so much. But because it doesn't actually seem like the relationship between them has changed at all, doing a bait and switch that's that quick, that's literally a one scene switch, isn't worth it to me.
Fair enough.
Unless you're going to have Ed straighten his spine under that knife after she throws it and go, Izumi, I need your help.
Yeah.
And then suddenly their relationship has changed and you've paid off the scene with her husband, which I think was legitimately great.
I think if I can remember properly, and I'm not sure that I can, I think that payoff might still be in the cards.
Oh, sure. I just think that it based on the way those three scenes were structured,
I totally
she's like, you're exiled, you're not my student anymore.
Yeah.
They go to the train station. I complain through the theme song. They go to the train station. Not complain. I just made a joke through the scene. Like, not a joke. I made a statement about her ridiculous position here.
No.
They go to the train station. He's like, you have to go back as equals. They go back. The expectation in there is that they're going to have learned the lesson from the guy because he is also their teacher in a way.
Yeah.
He is teaching them how to be men, right? Yeah. He's essentially the stepfather figure in their lives. And I think that's what it's missing is like, they don't take his advice. And so they kind of trample on the like stepfather relationship that I thought the show was building to be like, no, we're just going to go back and continue an old relationship that she told us is no longer there and you've told us is no longer there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so if you're going to do the scenes back to back like that, if you don't want to do the third scene and have it be the switch where they say Izumi and you change it, then have them kidnapped by Greed on the way back.
Yeah, it does definitely seem like the setup was there and they didn't... You know?
Yeah. And so I think there's just, it's one of those things where like there's a stronger version of that opening where you show Ed growing. And I think that the second half of this episode, we're talking way too long for the first half.
We got another episode to watch.
The second half of this episode is so strong in showing Ed's brains and showing Ed learning in a situation.
The alchemy stuff was so good.
And I wish it was so good. So good. And I wish that translated a little bit better to those opening scenes. Because it seemed like the groundwork was laid for exactly what the writer wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And then they just didn't follow through on that for some weird reason.
I felt that. And I wonder if maybe it's a translation thing, but I doubt it. Well,
I don't know. I don't know what you would. I like it. They were clearly still saying teacher.
Yeah,
and they like get on their knees and are like bowing, like I mean.
Yeah,
he's literally like, you guys are equals now, and then they don't treat it like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's watch the next one. That's Roy Mustang.
He must have some serious connections.
This show really loves to do this shadow face effect.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what it means. It's used in very different ways each time, and I'm not really sure what they're trying to like say with it.
Yeah, I don't know if
it might just be to save animation.
Maybe. I don't know if it's a suspicion thing or if it's a unknown thing. Like he doesn't know these people yet. Not 100%.
Yeah. I don't watch enough anime to know if it's just like a trope that means something.
You know what it feels like to me? Old times.
This character isn't evil.
Though to be honest, it's not one I'm particularly interested in.
His design is so cool.
I love it.
This is the zoot suit I want.
Coward! He ran away. How pathetic.
I mean, I'd run away from you too, woman. You scare me.
Quit struggling!
This is so weird.
Yeah, things have gotten a little out of hand, so we need to figure a way out of here.
I can't let you do that.
Let's go!
What's the most powerful man in the land doing down here?
How the fuck would you draw any of those swords?
This year marks my 60th birthday.
If that man is 60, he is dyeing his hair.
I've got an idea. Retire!
Let's go.
Well, look at this. The old man's got some moves.
It would honestly be kind of fun if Bradley wasn't evil. Because he is so cool. But unfortunately, I don't believe it.
Armstrong statuary technique.
I really need you to do this cosplay, please.
I need so many more muscles. What kind of cow did they mix you with, brother?
A bull?
We've secured the boy and the woman. Now eliminate every last.
Has definitely seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not in a one-to-one ripoff. Like, I'm not accusing them of anything.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like, there is some inspiration there, and I'm into it. Huh. Well, I guess we're about to find out about my eye theory. Ah! I fucking called it!
But I clearly see your weakness with my ultimate eye.
I fucking nailed it!
Like 6 episodes ago.
And now it's red! I nailed both versions of it! Wait, but he's not Daddy because Greed doesn't know him. So he's not, okay, interesting. Why did he let him go?
No, Greed! Quiet! Let me out!
He did not let him go.
I kind of wish we'd die back there. Do us a favor, kid, and get her out of here.
Protect her.
That was weirdly sweet.
You're not gonna make me sit here and watch my friends get killed, are you?
Fuck. Holy shit.
Killing me is one thing, but they're not coming back.
Pitying the lost lives of your pawns? Pathetic.
Oh, he's fucking evil.
Greed, you grow more pathetic by the second.
Jesus Christ. Wow, what a cool shot.
Aren't you the younger brother of Edward Elric? Can I help you at all?
Sure. I mean, no, I'm fine.
Can I help you at all?
Don't do this!
Girl, no. I mean, you're evil, but like, he's so evil.
Is she evil?
Stop it, Myrtle! Please!
That's a good point. Yeah, she's kind of a creature that's been used by... Oh my god! This can't have been the person teacher said she was sending him to.
No.
No, I know.
It's like,
but she's like, I'll send you to someone to help you remember. There's no way this was her intention.
No.
Oh, interesting.
If you arranged a deal or shared any knowledge with him, then I'll execute both of you right now. You really are an honest kid. All right, men, pull out.
Does he not know about the taboo? I thought the military was aware of what happened.
No, people don't realize that Alphonse isn't in a suit of armor. They think he's wearing it, not that he is it.
That's nonsense.
You're asking a bedridden housewife to join the military? You can't be serious. Is the country really in so much trouble that you need the help of someone like me?
He's a great villain. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Listen, Edward Elric. Do not do anything rash.
I love that his hair is poking through the bandage.
They're back. All the memories of when my body was taken away.
Cool.
If he was trying to figure out what they're up to, why didn't he catch them and make them talk?
Yeah, good point.
Big brain in it over here.
No matter how you look at it, none of this adds up. We've been warned, but we need to get closer.
Cool. I like how smart they are.
Mm-hmm.
It makes this show very fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't drag this out too long. This is a good time for the reveal. 1/6 of the way through the show.
Looks like your ultimate shield let you down after all.
Maybe, but you never do, Lust the Lascivious.
That's a Robert Jordan post.
And where is Sloth the Indolent these days?
I'm sure he'd love to be here slacking off, but we have to keep him working.
Isn't that the opposite of what Sloth does?
I am Wrath the Furious.
Führer, King, Bradley, and Wrath, one and the same.
Well done.
Or the Fury King?
But the truth is that he was created by Father for the final stage of the plan.
So he's not Daddy. Okay.
You scum! Call me that again and I will destroy you.
Stop your nonsense, both of you.
This is fun. I like this.
Right?
Greed. You are both my son and you are a...
What the fuck?! Is every dad in anime secretly... Oh my god, holy fuck.
And if I were to ask you to return and work for me again?
Everyone's got a daddy complex,
True. I'm not wrong, though. That's fucking...
Yeah,
Ed's
yeah.
dad. Okay,
You know
okay.
exactly who that is.
No one else could possibly have that facial hair. Well, damn.
Jeez. Talk about cheesy.
Why don't you come on in, kids? The water's fine! Nice and hot, just like the flames in hell.
You know, Greed, I can respect it. Go out on your own terms.
Return to my depths and rejoin my soul. Return, Greed!
He can't mean that he's literally removing his own sins. to make them, because then wouldn't he become like a really nice guy? Like once all of his sins are out? I guess maybe he still has pride inside of him, but like...
I shall drink to the promised day and to your undying loyalty.
Well, his aim's immaculate. True. That's impressive, honestly. Like, trying to get all that in your mouth.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
He's wearing white. I wouldn't risk it.
Welcome home, Father. I'm so glad you're back.
And it's good to be back, Salim.
He can have kids?
I do wish you would act your age, darling.
He can also get older, so...
Yeah.
You saw the little alchemist? Can I meet him sometime, Father?
He's gonna love that.
Well, he is the youngest state alchemist ever, right? That's so cool. I mean, he's not much older than me.
He's also your uncle? They share a grandfather, right? Well, because Bradley and the Fuhrer and Edward are brothers.
Kind of, yeah.
Not kind. That's how it works.
I mean, yeah, they weren't obviously born in the same way, but like,
fair.
One thing that I wasn't sure if you caught, did you get the human sacrifice part? Did you hear?
No.
Because we were finishing a sentence. When it went to Fuhrer Bradley, he was reporting that Edward and Teacher were good candidates for human sacrifice.
I missed that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was a little hung up on...
Yeah?
Edward's dad is somehow over 200 years old. And also... I am confused by a number of things. But not in a bad way.
Okay,
like,
good.
I'm really that, like, okay, if the rest of the show is like these last, honestly, 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes feel like a completely different show from the first 11.
I think that's totally fair.
There's like, hey, look, Ed's goofing around. And I think that in a version of it where there's more time for it to be goofy before the flip, I understand why the original probably works better, right?
Yeah.
I think that if you have a full arc of storytelling where it is a little bit more lighthearted, but I think the problem with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood on its own, without the rest of the media, if you're only taking in this, is that episode 1 introduces the big stakes. And I understand that episode 1 of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is completely created for the show.
Yeah.
Right? Is not from the manga and is not from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yeah.
It introduces really big stakes right away that are the pilot of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is closer to the last 3 episodes than the 10 after it, right?
Yeah, fair.
And so I think that if you started with episode 2 and you went, but even then, like, there's not really an arc. Those first 10 episodes are just kind of character introductions.
Yes.
And they're a little bit random.
Yes.
And they don't really work on their own.
I agree.
I can see where the missing pieces could make them more interesting and could make it a full arc so that it really like works as an introduction to this world.
Yeah.
But because they kept cutting to the sins and they kept making that arc about much darker things, I think that they really did a disservice to the beginning of this story.
I agree. And I really, really wish that we had been able to find the original one. I'll stop saying that. But I think like this is just a really good moment to talk about it. It's so hard to find the first one. The beginning of it is much better.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that it like kind of hindered your experience. Like you were like loving parts and not loving parts, and you were like feeling kind of lost, and it wasn't taking you on the journey in a good like cohesive storytelling way.
Yeah.
It was just like you need to know these things and these people.
Yeah, and I think that was just that was just not my favorite thing.
Totally.
These last 3 episodes have, much like the pilot, which I liked the pilot a lot. I thought the first episode was really good, right?
Yeah.
Tonally, I feel like it has been much more consistent. Even the Armstrong stuff in the sewer, because they didn't make ripping his shirt off a joke this time, him being shirtless for that fight didn't like.
Yeah, he
bug
was
me as
already
much.
shirtless. Yeah.
And the statue thing was funny.
Yeah.
I wish they would just say that he, like, because of how... I wish this show would just be like, because of how physical his fighting style is, he just finds that jacket really stifling and it's easier to fight without it.
Right.
I would be fine with that as the explanation.
Yeah.
The weird thing for me is that the explanation is that he likes to show off his muscles, and that is why it doesn't work for me,
Fair.
right? But other than that, I like... The statue joke is a funny way for him to be like, I'm taking this fight seriously, but I'm also fucking with you a little bit.
Yeah.
I liked that joke. I thought that was very funny. I thought this was the best use of Armstrong so far in the whole show. I liked Armstrong going serious with Ed and Al in the alley. I don't know. I think that these last 2 episodes have tonally felt very cohesive.
Yeah.
And I feel like this show has kind of figured out what it wants to be. And what it wants to be is something that I really like because the relationships are strong, the narrative is very cool, and the world building and the magic system are beautifully rendered.
Yeah.
In a way that I felt a little wishy-washy before that. I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what this is.
For
I don't
sure.
know what it's trying to do. These guys are just kind of like meandering from situation to situation, and they're tied together by the idea of a Philosopher's Stone, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
I really care now, and I like what's going on a lot. Like, that was a really fun episode of television that I thought succeeded at what it was trying to do in a really, especially these last two.
Yeah.
And, it's great.
And like this show does kind of just get like darker.
Mm-hmm.
And the shift from like 3 episodes ago till now, like, I had a woman literally die inside of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that was
like
that was very, yeah.
but here's the thing, like, it doesn't shy away from the bad things, but also it didn't force us to relive Hughes with Armstrong in the alley.
Yeah.
It was like you knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what happened. It's implied. They don't like force you to have to relive that kind of thing. And so I think that kind of balancing act just only gets like better.
Yeah, I think that this show is a like a stamp of what I like in setting up your TV show. I think they do it too late, but when you let your audience feel like they're on flat feet with your show, when you give them the rules,
when they're grounded and they're not like teetering on an edge,
it makes everything different for me. And like I'm like fully bought in now. When it gets weird, I feel like the weirdness is pulling against the rules that I understand will be there when we bounce back.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, because I have a couple of grounding rods, and now like the big reveal of Ed's dad, like delivered at just the right time, because you think Bradley's the big reveal, right? You're like, holy shit, the big reveal of this episode 5 minutes in is that Bradley is a homunculus.
Yeah.
Which I fucking called exactly where his tattoo was going to be. I feel real good about that.
You called which sin he was.
No, I never really knew if he was Pride or Wrath.
No, you did. I was like, okay, if you had to pick, you're like, I think it's Wrath.
Yeah,
there is video evidence. I literally, Rob in the Discord under spoiler tags was like, oh, holy shit, I cannot believe that Nerdy called that so early, and I was like, I fucking know.
Well, but because at the time I was going off of the idea that they were like demigod representations of like the literal like gods of sins.
Yeah.
I thought because the episode where Ed goes to the white space introduces God, I assumed that character had an antithesis in devil, right?
Okay.
And that there were demi-devils, right? I just because they introduced a god so early, I immediately went to some form of like deity level villain.
Yeah.
Because we introduced the antithesis of a deity level villain so early in the show.
Yeah.
And so when I know that I explained this earlier, but like for me, like I was going through the sins and I was like, well, like he can't be gluttony because he doesn't, and we've already met gluttony. We've met gluttony, lust, and I don't think we'd met envy yet. But like it didn't make sense for the Führer to be envious. Who are you envious of?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense for him to be sloth because that just doesn't work, right? Like there were only really.
I'm just saying that's still
and between
like,
Pride and Wrath, if it wasn't for the Ishvalan War stuff, I would have said either.
Yeah.
But because he was the leader of the Ishvalan War, Wrath made the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
It was really like a weird deduction of like emotional math.
Yeah.
More than it was like me like just like plucking that out of the ether.
No, but plugging it out of the ether isn't impressive. Like figuring stuff out is what's cool about it, right? You make a guess and like whatever, you throw spaghetti at a wall and some of it sticks.
I will say, I did see somebody say, this was after I guessed that he was a homunculus.
Oh, yeah.
But someone said, like, there are things about the pilot that give too much away. And
like
I think
that
that is the thing they're talking about.
Oh, yeah. Like, you were like, wow, that guy seems evil. And I was like...
Well, as soon as I went to the back of I was like, oh, the Führer is evil.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because he's called the Führer, because I know that in Japanese culture, they learn about World War II differently, and so some of those things don't translate well.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, like, I don't love that they use Führer for a character that might be good, but then the black and white, I was like, oh, no, this is, he is so powerful in a way that seemed like he was trying to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just too obvious.
And I
agree. I agree with that person who was like the pilot, by not following how the manga does things, might give that away too early.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But
yeah.
Still, I loved being here for it and being like,
I have so many questions now about Aaron, about Edward's dad.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun to find out.
Yeah, because I don't really.
It was a sick reveal, right?
It's a great reveal.
Sick reveal, because you see the beard and you're like.
Yeah, it's a great reveal.
Yeah.
And
I like that he's in the opening credits.
Yes.
Because you've seen his face a bunch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you get it.
Because without that, I don't think I would have noticed.
Yeah, because we only see him very minimally when he leaves.
And it's him turning and walking out the door. It's not even there's no conversation with him. We've never heard his voice before.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly without the main credits, I don't know that it would work as well as it does. Because that shocked me. I in a million years would not have guessed that. Right? The Führer thing feels so obvious. And so that's why that reveal is I had fun with it because I was I literally in the last episode just said that his eyeball is going to be a fucking tattoo, right?
Yeah. Well, you also
called
said
that.
No, you said that when you called him Wrath too.
I think I've been feeling it for a while because it was so weird.
No, aesthetically it makes sense.
But that felt like not as fun a reveal for me because I was like, oh yeah, I was right.
You're got sick.
The dad thing came. I never would have guessed because I just kind of was like, oh, his dad is going to be a mystery, and he is, and I guess I should have put that together, honestly. It is the obvious choice, but it's the way it was done in the show, partially I think because we've never seen him talk, because he was such a non-character, it's so much more shocking, because we don't see him be an asshole dad. He just leaves one day around the time of the Ishvalan War, and so we don't really know what's going on with that. Maybe I think it's around the Ishvalan War. I might be wrong about that. The timeline of the show is still a little confusing to me. Even though some people have helped me out with the people who sent me some year breakdowns, I really appreciate that. Yes. The one problem I have is that teacher managed to teach them so much alchemy and karate in less than 2 years.
2 or 3 years.
Which seems really quick for a 9-year-old to pick up the level of combat skill that they have.
Here's the thing, right? I mean, I think that she probably did a great job of teaching Ed and Al. Ed and Al are very, very clever children already.
Clearly.
I think that if you spent 2 years training every day, you they're not normal kids where they're going to play video games or relax or whatever, right? Their mom is dead and they have nothing else except a teacher who is keeping them grounded and showing them how to do things. And I think the wanting and that need of them to know how to do things is why they are so good at it.
100%. I just mean,
but yes, they are very good.
The time span is a little short.
They are wish very good.
If I could have the show be my way, I would have made their training a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And I would have them currently be 18 because I prefer when they're adults.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
No, I get it.
I don't know. After the last 3 episodes, this show is very much my speed. Now, this tone, the consistency, the level of humor in these last 3 episodes, I feel has enhanced the show rather than been distracting from it.
Fair, yeah.
I feel even the weird anime thing with the wavy arms, the way it was used to describe something that you can't describe with words, and so they use the anime trope to describe something with a visual that is visually weird to help you understand the alien nature of it.
Yeah.
And I feel that was that was a very successful use of that because it was using animation to show something that you can't show in live action. Yeah. And I think that's when animation is at its best.
Absolutely.
Whereas I felt that drew me in rather than held me at arm's distance. And some of the jokes kind of feel like a hand on my chest being don't, this is animated. And that time was you can't experience this any other way, so this is animated. And those are 2 different push-pulls.
Fair.
And I feel these last 3 episodes have been really successful at that. And I don't know, I really liked it. I find these characters really cool.
Yeah.
And it's really the strength of the relationships. I think Armstrong works because he fucking cares about Ed and Al.
Yeah.
In a way that I love. I'm starting to fall in love with Armstrong, even though I think he's a little bit goofy, because of the scene in the kitchen where he opened up about the war and because of his like genuine care for those two boys.
Yeah.
It's real and I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
And like, yes, he's a bit goofy and yes, he's a little bit over the top and I didn't really get him for a while. But because of like how big his heart is, I'm starting to really fall in love with his character, which is helping me kind of get over the stuff about it that isn't my favorite.
Sure, yeah.
But like I'm mostly in the show for the relationships.
Yes.
And
yes.
if you watch anything, you know that's the thing I care about most. I could watch two characters in a white room just talk if their bond was good, right?
Yeah.
Chemistry between characters is everything to me, and everything else is secondary. And when the chemistry isn't there, I don't care. Like, I just don't give a shit. I care about people who care about each other, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in watching 6 sociopaths on screen do really interesting, cool fights. That to me, I don't give a shit. I want one of them to care about something.
Real fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so this show, the relationships are strong, and the fights are great. The Fuhrer is a cool fucking villain that nobody suspects because he has the charm. The voice actor is crushing it for the Fuhrer. I don't know.
And I just thought, this is a me thing, but I love those moments where he's like, you're like, oh, you're evil. And then he's like, you're so funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like,
yeah, and the hardness of his animation softens. Like, even like, it looks like the line work softens a little bit. Mm-hmm. And there's just something about, there was one shot in that where he's in the foreground and Agreed was in the background. And the line work of his face was so like cut with a fucking X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
That he seemed almost like a different character because the animation was so like sharp. And that shit to me is when animation like fucking stuns me.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so glad that you enjoyed that because these couple episodes are fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in. I really like this right now. I'm the journey these characters are going to go on is going to break my heart. I already know this is going to end very poorly, but I'm excited to see that journey. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of hoping Scar becomes a good guy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I want justice for Ishval.
Mm-hmm.
I barely know anything about Ishval, and I'm fully on the justice for Ishval train.
Yeah.
That shouldn't surprise anyone knowing me. But if you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave me comments down below because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is lusty titties.
Yeah,
I don't really know how she got her hands so far underneath them.
Yeah, like they were like they're not even that big all the time, but like
it's not
that one.
It's not like
it
she
was like they were
put
like
them under.
Over. Yeah.
It's like she like shoved her hands into the meat of her tit flesh. You know what I mean?
The meat of her tit flesh.
If you want to follow us on the internet, you can. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
As always, y'all, do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.
Bye.